Womanjika everyone, Womanjika meaning welcome. My name is Auntie Julianne and I'm an elder of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, and in recognition of doing my welcome to country, I'd like to pay my respects to my elders past, present, future and any elders that were here today, and I would also like to welcome you all here today. The Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung tribe consists of three families, the Nevins, the Terricks and the Wandins, and I'm part of the Nevin family. The three families all descend from one woman called Annie Bharat, which makes us one big family. Annie Bharat is the youngest sister of William Bharat, a pioneer for Aboriginal people in the 19th century, fighting for equality and land rights. I'm here today to welcome you all to the land of my ancestors. We call the land within our tribal boundaries our country. The Kulin Nation, Kulin meaning man, is made up of 5 groups. They are the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung, Boonwurrung, Tanarong, Wathaurong and Dja Dja Wurrung. And to give you an outline of the Wurundjeri country and the area we cover, Wurundjeri country extends from north to the Great Dividing Range, east to Mount Baw Baw, south to the Mooloolik Creek and west to the Werribee River. We cover a diverse range of land from the mountains to the beach and everything in between. Many thousands of years ago, if an Aboriginal person from another tribe wanted to cross our boundary, they would have to sit at the boundary and wait for the Narragadah, which is the headman, or an elder to come past to give permission to cross. Traditional Aboriginal culture was highly territorial, and visitors risked a violent reprisal for crossing a tribal or clan boundary without this permission, and this is how a welcome to country originated in our culture. Traditionally, being welcomed onto country meant you respected Bunjil's law. Bunjil, the wedge-tailed eagle, is our creator, and Wah the crow is our protector. And as long as you looked after the country, you had access to our waterways and our land resources. And when you enter our country, we ask that you respect our resources, our fauna, flora and water, as they are very special to us. And when you are ready to leave, we ask that you leave it the way you found it.
We have lots of council services that support our community. We support families with children, including health services for children and mums, vaccinations, playgroups, childcare, and kinder. We support young people in our community. Through events and activities, we have services that can support people with disability, older people, and carers and family of people with disability and older people. Our libraries support everyone in our community, help people learn new things, and are free to join. We support our community to have fun and be active through events and activities, sport, and recreation areas. We help look after our places and spaces, the environment, and local businesses. We have laws to keep people safe, to make sure buildings are safe, to make sure roads and footpaths are safe, to make sure our places and spaces are safe. We make sure everyone follows the law to keep our community safe and happy. Moonee Valley. It's a great place to live, work, and visit.
Welcome to the Council meeting. I'm Councillor Piers Tyson, Mayor of Moonee Valley City Council. We aim to get started every second Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. However, sometimes there are some delays behind the scenes that we need to work through, and we appreciate your patience. You can have a look at our agenda online for all the issues that we'll be talking about tonight, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks. So every second Tuesday we work through our council agenda, and what that means is working through things from procedural, day-to-day issues, financial reports, all the way up to the most important things in Moonee Valley, in Victoria, or in Australia. And councillors can put up alternatives to that, can put up our staff officers' recommendation, and we can debate that and vote yes or no at the end of the day.
Woman Jika, everyone. Woman Jika meaning welcome. My name is Auntie Julianne, and I'm an out of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people. And in recognition of doing my welcome to country, I'd like to pay my respects to my elders, past, present, future, and any elders that were here today. And I would also like to welcome you all here today. The Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung tribe consists of 3 families, the Nevins, the Terricks, and the Wandans. And I'm part of the Nevin family. The 3 families all descend from one woman called Annie Barratt, which makes us one big family. Annie Barratt is the youngest sister of William Barratt, a pioneer for Aboriginal people in the 19th century, fighting for equality and land rights. I'm here today to welcome you all to the land of my ancestors. We call the land within our tribal boundaries our country. The Kulin Nation, Kulin meaning man, is made up of 5 groups. They are the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung, Boonwurrung, Tanarong, Watharong and Dja Dja. And to give you an outline of the Wurundjeri country and the area we cover. Wurundjeri country extends from north to the Great Dividing Range, east to Mount Baw Baw, south to the Moolalic Creek and west to the Werribee River. We cover a diverse range of land from the mountains to the beach and everything in between. Many thousands of years ago, if an Aboriginal person from another tribe wanted to cross our boundary, they would have to sit at the boundary and wait for the Narragadah, which is the headman, or an elder to come past to give permission to cross. Traditional Aboriginal culture was highly territorial, and visitors risked a violent reprisal for crossing a tribal or clan boundary without this permission, and this is how a welcome to country originated in our culture. Traditionally, being welcomed onto country meant you respected Bunjil's law. Bunjil the wedge-tailed eagle is our creator, and Wah the crow is our protector. And as long as you looked after the country, you had access to our waterways and our land resources. And when you enter our country, we ask that you respect our resources, our fauna, flora and water, as they are very special to us. And when you are ready to leave, we ask that you leave it the way you found it.
We have lots of council services that support our community. We support families with children, including health services for children and mums, vaccinations, playgroups, childcare, and kinder. We support young people in our community. Through events and activities, we have services that can support people with disability, older people, and carers and family of people with disability and older people. Our libraries support everyone in our community, help people learn new things, and are free to join. We support our community to have fun and be active through events and activities, sport, and recreation areas. We help look after our places and spaces, the environment, and local businesses. We have laws to keep people safe, to make sure buildings are safe, to make sure roads and footpaths are safe, to make sure our places and spaces are safe. We make sure everyone follows the law to keep our community safe and happy. Moonee Valley. It's a great place to live, work, and visit.
Welcome to the council meeting. I'm Councillor Piers Tyson, Mayor of Moonee Valley City Council. We aim to get started every second Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. However, sometimes there are some delays behind the scenes that we need to work through, and we appreciate your patience. You can have a look at our agenda online for all the issues that we'll be talking about tonight, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks. So every second Tuesday we work through our council agenda, and what that means is working through things from procedural, day-to-day issues, financial reports, all the way up to the most important things in Moonee Valley, in Victoria or in Australia. And councillors can put up alternatives to that, can put up our staff officers' recommendation, and we can debate that and vote yes or no at the end of the day. Welcome everyone to the council meeting for the 6th of June, which I now declare open at 6:38 p.m. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the members of the public in the gallery who have joined us this evening, as well as those watching at home on the internet. As well as being live streamed, the video recording of this meeting will also be available on our website, so attendees in the gallery are advised that your presence may be recorded. I also ask that mobile phones be switched to silent mode during the meeting. On behalf of Moonee Valley City Council, I respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting, the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay respects to their spirits, ancestors, elders and community members. We also extend this respect to any other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here this evening. Item 2 on the agenda is apologies and leave of absence, and I note that Councillor Hodgson is on an approved leave of absence, and Councillor Nation and Councillor Byrne are joining us via Zoom. Item 3 is the confirmation of minutes. Councillors can have a mover and seconder that the minutes from the council meeting held on Tuesday the 23rd of May 2023 be confirmed. That's moved Councillor Sypek, seconded Councillor Bedio. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Item 4 is declarations of conflicts of interest. Does any councillor have a conflict of interest they wish to declare this evening? Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. I have a general interest conflict with item 9.1 on the agenda for reasons previously disclosed to the CEO in writing in accordance with the governance rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Are there any others? Councillor Bedio.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll declare a conflict for agenda item 9.1 for reasons previously disclosed to the CEO.
Thank you. We now move on to item 5, presentations. Do we have any presentations this evening? Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. Last week, Council was honoured to be one of the inaugural winners of the Magali Awards 2023. The Magali Award recognises Victorian local governments who have shown excellence working in partnership with First Peoples to support self-determination, advance reconciliation and strengthen inclusion of First Peoples voices. Council worked with traditional owners and the wider Aboriginal community to create our reconciliation plan, Bugaroo Bugaroo Jering, translates to shoulder together in Woiwurrung. As always, Moonee Valley remains committed to reconciliation and are proud of the ongoing relationship we have with the traditional owners and the wider Aboriginal community. This award could not have been achieved without the commitment of our working group members and council officers who have supported them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Are there any others? Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. Also last week, in partnership with the Long Walk Foundation and as part of Council's Reconciliation Week events, councillors and staff took part in a long walk from Woodlands Park, Essendon, along Mount Alexander Road to Queen's Park in Moonee Ponds. And we thank the Long Walk Foundation for supplying us with these scarves, which we wore very proudly on the walk. The long walk is inspired by former AFL legend Michael Long, who walked from Melbourne to Parliament House in Canberra, which is a much longer walk than we participated in. The walk aims to raise money to support Indigenous education programs across the country, and thanks to all staff who participated in that walk along with councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. I, on a sad note, wish to acknowledge the passing of former councillor and Mayor Jim Cusack, who served on council from 2005 to 2020, as well as Mayor in 2011. Jim was passionate about social justice and supporting initiatives within our community that benefited our most disadvantaged, particularly around the Flemington housing estate. He advocated and was a champion for the Flemington Hub, as well as our International Women's Day breakfast, which has been held every year since, and his work with our sister city in Timor. We offer our condolences to Elaine and his family, and a service will be held 11 a.m. this Friday at St Brendan's Catholic Church. Item 6 on the agenda is petitions and joint letters. Councillors, do we have any petitions or joint letters?
Mr.
Councillor
Mayor,
Sypek?
would I be able to just say a few words about Councillor Cusack?
Absolutely.
I was elected to council the same year as Councillor Cusack was, and I spent the majority of my local government time with Councillor Cusack. He was a formidable force in Moonee Valley, Mr. Mayor. He led a lot of good causes. I supported him with most of them. Didn't agree with 100% with him, but I agreed with most of the time with him. He was a great man. He'll be sadly missed, and I think he's stamped his mark on Moonee Valley, and my condolences to Helene and the family. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Item 6, petitions and joint letters, councillors. Councillor Sypek.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Council received a petition with over 200 signatures from Moonee Valley calling for the parklet program at East Pantry Centreway to continue. It is request councils continued running this program every year as it brings much needed life, enjoyment and community space to the Centreway in East Keilor.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. In accordance with Governance Rule 62.4, I refer the petition to the CEO for consideration. Are there any others? Item 7 is public question time, and we've received 12 questions this evening. The first and second are from Peter Robinson, who is not joining us this evening. So in Peter's words, his question is, it is noted that MV Council has stated that it will extend the opening hours of the only 50-metre heated pool in the council. This pool at East Keilor serves 100,000 people. Even in MV Council gibberish, surely closing the pool during cooler months and then closing it at 7 p.m. every other day of the year, the term non-extended should be used. I refer to the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Peter. Through the Mayor, the management contract for the Move Aquatic and Fitness Facilities Management and Operations outlines the minimum hours of operation for the Keilor East Nature Centre. The Council recently resolved to open the outdoor pool for the summer hours from the start of the September school holidays to the end of April school holidays for the 2023-24 season. This is an extension to the minimum summer hours outlined in the management contract. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Peter's next question is, with a mayoral election looming, would it be possible that ratepayers and residents have some involvement in future elections? Perhaps a public debate with questions from the public would lead to better quality mayors compared to the current system of taking turns, councillors doing deals with each other or just electing friends. I refer to the CEO to respond to the question.
Thank you, Peter. Through the Mayor, Moonee Valley City Council has 9 elected councillors. Each year, one of the councillors is elected to be mayor by the peers. The process for the election of mayor is governed by Section 25 of the Local Government Act 2020, which states that the mayor must be elected by an absolute majority of the councillors, and this section does not prescribe a process for public participation. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Questions 3 and 4 are from Elizabeth Wheelgotts, who is joining us this evening, I understand. Hi, Elizabeth. Please come up to the podium. Oh, no. Welcome. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I understand a number of people have lodged statutory declarations with the Victorian Local Governance Association, Inc., giving notice of withdrawal of consent to be placed under surveillance by any device operated by any government bodies, including councils, including but not limited to facial recognition, audio recording devices and GPS. How does Council propose to accommodate these requests for this privacy?
Thanks for your question, Elizabeth. I'll refer to the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Through the Chair, Council is not aware of any statutory declarations lodged with Victoria Local Government Association. Therefore, we cannot comment on the requests. However, if received, Council will assess any declarations appropriately. Thank you. We have not received and are not aware of either.
Thank you. And Elizabeth, your next question.
Is Council going to comply with the request of such people, now that you've said that you haven't received any, that all images and surveillance details relating to them be destroyed, and what proof will you provide of this?
Thank you, Elizabeth. Again, we have not received such a request. Upon receiving, Council will assess and respond accordingly. But please be assured, Council always ensure we complies with relevant laws and legislations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Our next question is from Ed Niemiec, who's joining us as well this evening. Hi Ed, how are you going?
Not bad. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks for coming along. What's your question?
Has the council consulted its ratepayers as to whether they agree to their hard-earned money being spent on various surveillance technology which is being used on them without their consent?
CEO.
Thank you, Ed. Through the Mayor, through the annual budgeting process, Council consult with ratepayers as to how the budget is formulated. Where appropriate, Council also consult with the community on any policy, strategy, and major projects in accordance with our community engagement policy. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Thank you, Ed. Thanks. Questions 7 and 8 are from Jaya Talbot, who I understand is not in the audience tonight. No? So Jaya has asked, at the last meeting, Council stated that they would consider purchasing Crown land at 2 Grice Crescent, Essendon, in alignment with MV 2040 policy. Has MVCC moved from a position of merely considering the purchase to genuinely and actively pursuing acquisition? And if so, what direct action/steps have been taken to keep this Crown land for the good of all the community? CEO to respond.
Thank you, Jaya. Through the Mayor, as the land is owned by the Victoria State Government, it already has the capacity to maintain ownership for the good of the community. A resolution of Council is required to further consider the costs and benefits of acquisition of this land. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. And Jaya's next question is, in response to the first right of refusal offer in 2017 regarding the sale of Crown land at 2 Grice Crescent, Essendon, Council stated that they couldn't afford it at the time, but if the state government could keep the site as a community centre, MVCC would be happy to manage it. When the state government didn't respond to this request, why didn't Council pursue the provisions in the Victorian Government Landholding Policy and Guidelines, section 2.3, page 3.4, which enable negotiation with the Minister to reach an affordable price for a community purpose, and will Council readdress this now to acquire the Crown land? CEO to respond.
Thank you, Jaya. Through the Mayor, consistent with my earlier response, a resolution of Council is required to further consider the costs and benefits of acquisition of this land. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The next 2 questions are from Eula Jackson. Is Eula here? Welcome, Eula. Go ahead.
My first question is, given Australia is a parliamentary democracy, a growing number of people are concerned about the interference of foreign organisations such as the World Economic Forum, the WHO and the UN, which are all unelected committees. In light of these concerns, can the Council please confirm if the Urban Design Framework and the Streets for People project encompasses any of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals as outlined in Plan Melbourne, which was developed by the United Nations in 2015. I respectfully request that such a response be answered with a simple yes or no reply.
Thank you, Eula. CEO to respond.
Thank you, Eula. Through the Mayor, the strategic documents referenced in your question are not Council authored. They are neither endorsed nor refuted by Council. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Eula, your next question relates to Ascot Vale, is that right?
Yes. In Ascot Vale, Walter Reserve Playground has 2 high towers. One is listed as 5G with an ID of 3032003, and the second tower is ID 303233. They are located in the reserve, which are on council land and are located very close to residential housing. Surrounding this reserve are many townhouses, and the street lighting has not been changed to 5G street lighting, as is in the case in nearby streets such as Epsom Road. Can Moonee City Council, which is supposed to represent the residents and consult with residents, please explain why the street lighting surrounding Walter Reserve has not been changed to reflect the same street lighting, 5G, as in nearby streets such as Epsom Road?
Thank you, Eula, and we'll ask the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Eula. Through the Mayor, the implementation of telecommunication infrastructure and technology, including consultation, is the responsibility of the relevant service provider. In this case, Gemini and Telstra. For further details on Telstra's 5G network rollout, please refer to Telstra website, telstra.com.au. Thank you.
Thank you, Eula. The next question is from Logan Shield, who I understand won't be joining us this evening. So on behalf of Logan, report 10.1 in the council meeting of 22 February 2022 notes that a 6-court facility at Quinn Grove is likely to need an investment over $45 million. Does that figure represent the estimated total cost to deliver the current draft Quinn Grove Precinct Master Plan, or is the estimated cost substantially lower or higher than $45 million? And I refer to the CEO to respond.
Thank you, Logan. Through the Mayor, it is expected that the cost to deliver the full Quinn Grove Precinct Master Plan will exceed earlier estimates, largely as a result of escalations in construction costs. Council is undertaking an expressions of interest process to explore the potential delivery of a highball facility through a public-private partnership. This process will better inform Council's future budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. The last 2 questions are from David Wright, who also won't be joining us this evening. Oh, welcome, David. Sorry, I had it down that you weren't joining us. Please come to the podium. Welcome. What was your question?
Okay, 2 of them. Can Council explain why they are installing EVs and extending these when EVs, over their useful life, emit more CO2 than conventional vehicles? And in saying that, you must include the CO2 that is emitted when these vehicles are created. When you first put a vehicle on the road, you've emitted a lot of CO2 with an electric vehicle compared to a conventional vehicle. So can you explain why you are persisting with implementing electric vehicles here?
Thank you, David. I'll ask our CEO to respond.
Thank you, David. Through the Mayor, through its Community Vision Council Plan and Health Plan 2021 to 2025, Council is committed to encouraging the use of sustainable transport options across Moonee Valley, including an increase in participation of sustainable commuting and the uptake of new transport technologies. Similar to the Victoria Government, Council supports the community's increasing uptake of zero-emissions vehicles and is providing additional vehicle charging infrastructure across the municipality to remove any potential barriers to participation. It is proposed that the next EV charging station will be located at 31 to 33 Dudley Street, Aston North. Thank you.
Thank you. And David, your last question.
Can Council explain why it's supporting the use of electric cooktops and heating to reduce CO2? If you look at thermodynamics, and in particular the Carnot heat engine cycle, that will indicate to you that electric cooktops and heating emit more CO2 than gas cooktops and heating.
Thank you, David, and I'll ask the CEO to respond.
Thank you, David. Through the Mayor, Council acknowledges the climate emergency, and to respond to this emergency, it is essential to decarbonise the electricity grid. Council has provided leadership in this regard by purchasing only renewable electricity, which helps evolve the grid. Although heating with gas may be thermodynamically efficient, it relies on the consumption of a non-renewable fossil fuel and the direct creation of CO2 and other pollutants. Through NV 2040, Council has a target that we achieve zero net emissions for our community and reduce emissions from Council operations by 95% by 2040. Zero net emissions for the community is relying on elimination of fossil fuels such as gas from the energy mix. Electrical appliances support the transition away from gas. There are also health benefits from transitioning from gas to electric appliances. Pollution from domestic gas appliances is an identified risk to health. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Thank you, David, for joining us tonight. Our next, thank you to all of our questioners. Item 8 is reports from delegates. Councillors, are there any reports from your responsibilities as delegates? If not, we will move on to section 9, reports. And I understand Councillors Adams and Bedio have declared a conflict. So we'll give them a moment to leave the chamber. Item 9.1 is adoption of the footpath trading policy and fee schedule 2023/24. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Sypek.
Mr Mayor, I'd like to move an alternative to defer the motion.
What's your motion?
To defer.
To defer. Is it the words on the screen there? Are you able to see that, Councillor Sypek?
Could you read it for me, please? Because I'm in a bad position.
That Council resolves to defer the report to a future Council meeting.
Correct.
Can you read that out for me, if that's all right? We'll just say those words to move the motion.
To move the motion to defer to a future Council meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Is there a seconder? Councillor Sharp. Councillor Sypek, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. This footpath policy, I still feel uncomfortable with the officer's recommendation, because I truly believe that this one policy to suit the whole municipality probably doesn't work. I think this needs to be looked at on more of an individual basis rather than a broad brush to, do the whole municipality with this. So the reason why I want to defer it is because I really want to exercise every opportunity out of this and to really tease this out to make sure that we have got the right policy rather than just jumping in and broad brushing this. So that's basically just a deferral.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Councillor Sharp, would you like to speak to the motion? No? Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Apologies, councillors on Zoom. I'm not sure if you have your hand up or not. Councillor Byrne.
Thank you, Mayor. I suppose my only concern with deferring this policy would be that the actual policy in the format that it currently is what will come back to the chamber. So if the intention, Councillor Sypek, was to workshop things or for it to come back in a different format, then that would require a different resolution. And I would also query whether there's an issue of this needing some sort of an endorsement prior to the end of the financial year for the existing parklets that are in operation. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Isa?
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I'm happy to support the deferral. It is quite a complex policy, and we are trying to deal with a transferal of a situation that's existed during COVID, so for a couple of years, and trying to transfer that to a new system. So if there's any lack of clarity or anything that we need to iron out before we approve the policy, I'm happy to work through that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Councillor Nation, you're the only councillor who hasn't spoken. Would you like to speak?
Why not? Yeah, look, I'm happy to support the deferral if, as Councillor Byrne mentioned, the purpose is to do some further work to find a solution that is going to, I guess, be able to be rolled out throughout the municipality. And as Councillor Sypek alluded to, that may require certain carve-outs or references to particular areas within the policy, which will have to be done through an alternative or an amendment in over, I was going to say a fortnight's time, but it's probably a little bit longer. What I would say if this deferral gets up is that if there are members of the community, either supporters of parklets or not, that didn't get the chance to be involved in the consultation process, then there probably is still the chance now, if the deferral gets up, to informally get in touch with council or councillors to share some further views. Particularly, I guess, if there is scope for there to be variations in the policy relating to specific areas of our municipality. Yeah, happy to support the deferral, and we'll look forward to seeing what we as a councillor group can do in the background to bring it back in a form that will hopefully find support. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. And I might just ask if you can check your microphone volume, and I might get our comms team to just check whether you can be turned up for us, as you were a little bit quiet. Councillor Byrne, do you have a point of order, a point of clarification?
Just a point of clarification. Just in regards to the existing parklets, if their permits expire prior to a future report coming back, what would be the outcome for those parklets, or whether they would just roll over until we have a position?
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. CEO, the Director of Strategy and Planning, if you're in a position to respond.
So the Mayor, my understanding is if deferred, the existing situation will prevail. And Director, do you have any further to add?
Through you, Mayor. The CEO is correct. The existing situation will prevail with respect to the footpath trading fee structure that we have in place under the local law. There are a number of parklets that Council has installed which have a authorisation expiry of June 30, but it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be removed, but it does create some uncertainty around their futures that maybe people will choose to comment on.
Thank you, Director of Strategy and Planning. I will now put that deferral motion to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Isa, Councillor Sharp, Councillor Sypek, Councillor Byrne, Councillor Nation, and all those against, Councillor Tyson. I declare that motion carried. We now move on to item 9.2, and we'll welcome Councillors Bedio and Adams back in.
Mayor, can I just test my microphone? Is that any better at your end?
That's a lot better. Thank you, Councillor Nation.
Thank you.
Welcome back, councillors. We now move on to item 9.2, community consultation on soccer opportunities at J.H. Allen Reserve. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. And a seconder? Is there a seconder, councillors? Councillor Isa? Councillor Sharp, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, we endorsed the soccer strategy late last year, which identified new and existing infrastructure possibilities for soccer at various sites across the municipality. J.H. Allen Reserve was one of those locations, and I'm actually very thankful that we've been able to go out to the community and consult with them regarding the two options, namely the upgrading of the Western Sports Field and lighting on the Eastern Sports Field. We received a lot of feedback, which was really good. A lot of your say surveys were completed. We received a petition against and a petition for. So we have received vital community input into these options. Hence, I'm happy to note all the concerns against and all the reasons for, and look forward to speaking about that further, I guess, with councillors when it comes to budget time. Hence, I'm happy to support the officer's recommendation to note the community consultation as it is, but I am glad that we have been able to consult. I think it's been really, really important and really valuable for us to garner as much information as we can in order to either progress or not progress these options at this location. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Councillor Isa?
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I'm happy to second the motion. The motion at this point is to note that community consultation report, which is a very detailed report, and thank the officers for putting all of the comments from the community members in that report so that we can have a really comprehensive understanding of the different concerns that people have raised with respect to the two issues, but also where there's support for the infrastructure as well, and so that we can think about that and balance all of that up in our budget considerations and any future infrastructure discussions. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Bedio?
Thanks, Mayor. And look, to those watching and those in the chamber, I just want you to understand that this report is to note the community consultation that's gone out, and that consultation, I believe, was Councillor Sharp's idea to put that put the lighting and the resurfacing out for consultation at the same time, which I think was a really good idea because it gave us the opportunity to have a holistic view of the site and to get the feedback from our community about their views on that. I think overwhelmingly, however, whilst we've had petitions for and against, I think it seems that this site is adequately inappropriate for the use of a soccer hub. And I think that's shown through the consultation from and to those who have contacted me to meet with them and to see the site. The lighting and the resurfacing would potentially be an affront to the Burley Griffin design of the site and to the houses that are relatively close to that. So that's my take on this feedback. However, that being said, there is some significant challenges that face soccer, and I'm keen to challenge that at this upcoming budget to ensure that we have the spaces that the soccer clubs need, and we get those happening now. And I'm still looking at Fairburn Park as being that key site to activate for us to do that. So my take on it is that this is not the right site, and that we need to look elsewhere. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. Would any other councillor like to speak?
Councillor Sypek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've known this site for quite a number of years. Even when it first became actually a soccer pitch when Kiel Austria was playing there many moons ago, and it's always been a contentious issue. Lights are probably the way to go with soccer and football, because we as the council, we're landlocked. We can't build double-storey soccer pitches or football ovals. So the only way we can do is utilise the extra hours on what our pitches can do. But then we've got to look at this holistically as well too. In the report, it actually states, Strathnava Reserve, Aberfeldy Parks and Bernards. I mean, they're all great properties to have lights because they don't have any houses next to them. They've got parks, they've got rivers, they've got a school next to them. Even Cross Keys, if you look at Cross Keys, they've got lights, but they've got this very wide road. So the houses are predominantly, quite a fair way back. But here at AJ Davis, you've got, JH Allen, at JH Allen, you've actually got houses and a very small road. And if there's a crowd there at night time, you won't be able to get any emergency services through there. You won't be able to get nothing through there. So for me, look, it's a great parcel of land, and to have daytime soccer there, junior soccer, that's all fantastic. But to make the residents there endure 5 nights or 6 nights with lights every single night, I think is non-feasible. So I will not be supporting this, and any future endeavours to have any lights put there, I think would be an absolute travesty for the area.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Nation.
Thanks, Mayor. And look, I'm happy to speak in support of the motion on the floor, which, as I read it, is to cease with the proceedings of delivering lights at JH Allen unless there is further motions of council to do so. And I think I do want to commend Councillor Sharp, because there were 2 pieces of consultation in regards to JH Allen, and they were interlinked. The synthetic picture and the lights, they were connected but not connected with the consultation. And I think it was back on the 14th of February that Councillor Sharp recommended through a motion on the floor that was contested that the consultation is actually tied into one. And that's enabled us at this point of time, before our final budget is passed, to have information that can then help us make a more informed decision that brings into account that community feedback. And it has been considerable, as Councillor Bedio noted. It's been considerable and it's been informed. I've been out of town for a week or 2, and actually being able to get detailed analysis by local residents summarising all the key points was extremely valued. So I do appreciate those community members that got in touch via email, because it's really helped me make my decision this evening. I do want to stress that one of the pushes to get lighting at JH Allen is because we are deficient in soccer facilities, and even more so in soccer facilities that have nighttime play. The majority of our sporting fields, as Councillor Sypek noted, they're in flood-prone areas, or they're on land that can't be used for residential purposes. And therefore, let's keep that same trend going when we look at lighting. Let's not put it in the few pitches where there might be neighbouring houses. Let's put the lighting down in areas that aren't going to create residential amenity issues. Councillor Bedio mentioned Fairburn Park. There is lights in the Fairburn Park master plan for soccer and cricket pitches. So that is a great initiative that hopefully we can explore over the next month or so when we're discussing our final budget resolution. But yeah, more than happy to support this recommendation to put a pause on the proposal for lights, and again, thank community members for reaching out, giving us their feedback and ultimately helping shape this decision. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Would any other councillor like to speak? So,
Mayor, just a point of clarification. So what we're voting on tonight is just to receive the report and the feedback, but not to proceed with either project. Is that correct?
That's, well, CEO.
My understanding is the lighting project is in the budget, in the draft budget. So the resolution merely says no report, nothing else.
Just
it
a
doesn't
note
say
to
stop.
report.
It doesn't say stop or, yeah.
Okay, so
Just
it
the money
doesn't
will
say
stay
to
in the
proceed
budget.
with the project, just noting the feedback.
No other action, just note the feedback and no changes. The money will remain in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sypek, does that answer your question? Thank you. Councillor Bedio?
Mayor, I'll move an amendment, if I may.
Yep.
To add a point to reallocate the funding currently scheduled for the lighting for J.H. Allen Reserve towards funding for the Fairburn Park soccer project.
Happy to second
Thank
that.
you. Hang on, Councillor Sypek. Do you have those words, Councillor Bedio?
No, sorry, I was just thinking
Right.
on the run there.
That's all right.
Reallocate the funding allocated for J.H. Allen Reserve lighting project to lighting projects at Fairburn Park.
Was
in the 2024 budget. Yes. From J.H. Allen.
From J.H. Allen.
Yep. I think if that makes sense.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. Are councillors all aware of what's been moved?
Happy to second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Seconded. Councillor Bedio, would you like to speak to your amendment?
I'll be brief, Mayor. I think I've already been quite explicit from what I've spoken about just previously. However, I do understand the draft budget is currently out for community consultation, so this may be a little bit confusing. However, considering we've had so much consultation on this specific issue, I don't think that will be a major implication. Obviously, we will need to do further consultation down at Fairburn Park should this proceed. However, given the strong community feedback to not have the lighting down at J.H. Allen, I don't see any point in continuing to have that in the budget, and that we reallocate those funds to Fairburn Park so that they could potentially be used if community consultation comes back in support.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. I might just confer with both governance and the CEO for a second to clarify that obviously we're still going through our draft budget process, so this would still need to be decided on any budget finalisation night in a few weeks. Anyway.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was thinking exactly the same. Maybe if Councillor Bedio would consider adding subject to the final budget decision, 27th of June, because we do need to deliberate.
That would be the process to withdraw and then.
I'll withdraw the amendment and then I'll put forward another amendment. So don't delete all the wording, but I'll add to the end of that subject to final budget deliberations.
Happy to second.
Councillor Sypek, do you withdraw as well?
I withdraw.
Yep, thank you. And I'll take that as moved. Thank you, Councillor Bedio. And to add on subject to final
budget decision, 27th of June, 2020.
Final budget deliberation. June, sorry, governance. Is that what you've moved?
Yep,
Councillor
thanks,
Bedio?
Mayor. I'll move.
Thank you. I'll just confer with governance. Thank you, Councillor Bedio. Is there a seconder? Councillor Sypek. Councillor Bedio.
Nothing further to add, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Sypek.
As I thank Councillor Bedio for the amendment, I really was kind of hoping to keep that in the Rosehill ward, but for me, if that means no lights at JH Allen and if that money has to go down to Fairburn Park, I'm more than happy for that to happen. Wouldn't have mind seeing that going in Quinn Grove with our future proposals there at some time, but more than happy to support you, Councillor Bedio, with the removal of any lighting at JH Allen.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak on the amendment? Councillor Nation.
Thanks, Mayor. And look, I'm happy to support this amendment for two main reasons. One is that based on Councillor Sypek's point of clarification that if the motion, the substantive got up, technically the money is still there in the budget for JH Allen. I think through this amendment, it probably gives those local residents, and not that I can see them, but I believe there are some in the gallery tonight, just that little bit of reassurance that they don't have to come back in 3 weeks' time and plead their case again. That money will be out based on their feedback. The second reason why I support this, and again, Councillor Sypek, I think over the past few years has been educating many of us about the difference in lights. Now, Fairburn Park at the moment does have some of the old light towers, but there is a certain lux, and Councillor Sypek will know a lot more than I do, in regards to what can be used under the rules of each sporting code for training, for game day, and then for a higher level of game day. Think in the EDFL it would be their premiers, or in soccer it's probably the level that some of our higher clubs are playing at. So there are lights at Fairburn in this location, but for the actual activation of game space, you do require that greater lux, and hopefully this reallocation, whether or not it would cover the full amount, would have to get some officer advice, but at least it's a starting point for us to get a little bit more ideas about shaping a potential budget project down there at Fairburn Park, delivering some more soccer facilities. There might be an on-flow for cricket users as well. And again, goes to my original point that we want to really activate those sports fields that are near our waterways or open spaces or non-residential land. Noting Wood Street, obviously there are houses, but there are existing lights there as well. So thank you, Councillor Bedio, for this proposal, this amendment, and I think this is a really, really pragmatic way forward, and hopefully it is supported by fellow councillors. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Would any other councillor like to speak on the amendment? Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mayor. I can't support this alternative for a number of reasons. Namely, I was happy with supporting the officer's recommendation because I figured that us as a group of councillors could take this feedback on board and talk about other potential options rather than doing something on the fly like that, because to my mind, I don't know there's any lighting projects at Fairburn Park at the moment unless this motion is inventing one, which maybe it is, but I'm not comfortable with that at all because I don't think we're having a good discussion about the issues around the table. Notwithstanding the issues that the idea of lights, and I'll only focus on the lights because that's what this point B is talking about. Yes, it would be a big change up there for JH Allen, and I understand all of the concern of the residents and everything like that, but I was hoping that we could have a thorough discussion amongst councillors about that, and we could, like I said, potentially earmark another way forward that we were all understanding of. But when we're talking about the feedback, I will note that on page 16 it says that there was actually a high level of support from respondents on your say for the new sports siting on the Eastern Sports Field, with 65% supportive or strongly supportive. Now that's notwithstanding, that's not including the petition for or the petition against. That is the Your Say survey that is across the board. They might live next door, they might not live next door, but it's 65% are supportive. So, notwithstanding that with that either, I guess we endorsed the soccer strategy in September. If everybody other than myself is aware of the issues at JH Allen, we should not have endorsed potentially lighting JH Allen in the soccer strategy and giving false hope effectively to the soccer community if there was understanding across the board this was never going to happen. I think that's majorly unfair, and I don't think we should have done it like that because we've upset residents, we've upset our huge soccer community. So I think we probably need to reflect on that, and we didn't have to endorse this as a proposal in the soccer strategy, not at all, but we have, so we've looked at it. And I am very glad that we're looking at it because at least we can move forward, because we've got to move forward on the soccer strategy whichever way we go. But I'm very, very disappointed that it's come down to that tonight. I really am.
Councillor Sharp, would you like an extension to finish your thought?
It's all good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Might ask comms to look at the volume of the countdown timer as well. Would any other councillor like to speak to the amendment? Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. Look, I think I'm in agreement with Councillor Sharp on this one. I think chopping and changing sort of on the fly like this is problematic when we haven't considered all the issues. I do note that we are referring to the budgeting process, and things can change at that stage as well. But I can't support this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Byrne, apologies.
No, that's okay. Thank you, Mayor. Look, it's a really interesting one. Just the amendment. Sorry, I've got 3 screens going just to make sure I've got the words right. And this is obviously just speaking to the amendment, not the substantive. Whilst I acknowledge what Councillor Bedio was doing to sort of ease the minds of residents to say that for the lighting not to be at JH Allen, I'm very mindful of moving it down to Fairburn. And I think one of my concerns with that is, I think Councillor Sypek touched on it, maybe it would be better to go to Queen Grove or to one of the other areas that we've done a little bit more consultation on. I don't think we've done, and I'm happy to stand corrected, apart from the endorsed master plan, but for recent consultation on the lighting at Fairburn. And my understanding is that if there is existing lighting, that there is existing lighting, and this would put it up to the game specifications, which is fine, it's great, but from where I come from, I normally, like for soccer, I think one of their main issues is actually space for training. They need to have that time between 4:30 and 7:30 or whatever it might be, especially in winter when it's dark at 5, to be able to get the kids out onto the ground. I make no apologies for trying to increase participation opportunities for our younger residents in the municipality. Now, if JH Allen isn't the right option for that, I'm not saying that Fairburn isn't also a fine option, but if that's actually going to be catering for the match games, they're actually not, it's not a like for like, which I think goes back to somebody else's comments that it might be something that actually just needs to be fleshed out a little bit more, as opposed to just moving a bucket of money to somewhere else. I think it is really important that if this project doesn't go ahead, that it does stay with the sport somehow, but there are quite a few different things that I believe probably need to be discussed, and I just don't know whether this amendment is necessarily right at the moment, whilst I understand that the intention behind it is good and fine. We need to find a way for more kids to be able to play soccer in our municipality, and we need to do it through the soccer strategy and looking at all of the available options in a really considered way. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. And I might ask Councillor Byrne, please feel free to jump in to speak, as I don't have a clear line of sight to you on Zoom, so apologies in advance. Councillor Isa, you're the only councillor who hasn't spoken. Would you like to speak?
Thanks, Mayor. I won't support the amendment either. I do understand the motivation for moving the amendment, and I think the process here is perhaps a little bit confusing and complicated, because the motion on the floor, Councillor Sharp's motion, is just to note the report, and I agree with Councillor Sharp's comments that the process that councillors can now follow is to take all of that consultation and put that into our budget deliberations, which are ongoing over the next few weeks, and that gives us a chance to really sit down and thoroughly evaluate what we want to do in the budget process. I do understand the motivation to give some comfort to people or to act quickly on concerns, but these sorts of projects are better when we deliberate on them slowly and when we take all consideration on board, rather than trying to do something on the fly where we don't necessarily have all the information to hand. And one of the pieces of information we don't have to hand at the moment is what lighting projects at Fairbairn Park might entail. There are currently lights at the northern fields at Fairbairn Park. The soccer strategy indicates that at Fairbairn Park, the lighting project would be to provide lights on all sports fields. Now, there are 8 sports fields at Fairbairn Park. Lights are on some of them. So I take this motion to be providing lights on fields that don't have lights, and that would entail a whole lot of consultation with the residents around Fairbairn Park. So we would be supplementing one problem for another problem without sufficient information. And really we need to make sure that we make informed decisions. On Thursday of this week, we're also hearing back from residents about the draft budget, and we've had a very high number of budget submissions who residents are going to be providing us with their thoughts about different projects. So we need to listen to that feedback first, because one of those projects that was put in the draft budget was around Fairbairn Park. So we need to, in fact, listen to the submissions on that prior to making a decision to reallocate funding. The process here is what we need to get right. It doesn't mean that the decision has been made one way or another. We need to get the right process, which at this stage is to note the feedback, and then we will go into our budget deliberations, hearing from other people over the course of the submissions on Thursday. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. As there has been some dissent, Councillor Betty, I'll ask you if you would like a right of reply.
Look, thanks, Mayor. I definitely understand some of the concerns coming from around the room, and I would be open to ongoing discussions up until budget time. My thinking, though, is we need to act, and we need to act fast. Our soccer strategy is quickly ageing, and I feel we haven't done enough for it. It's concerning that it's highlighted J.H. Allen as being one of the premier NPL competition standard amenities in the municipality, and that went out for significant consultation, and we didn't get the feedback that we needed back then to tell us that no, that wasn't feasible. Likewise with Queen Grove, there's discussions about how we could potentially have lighting there. The issue is that's currently out for consultation. It doesn't mention anything about lighting. So what's going to happen then if we want to have lighting at Queen Grove? We're going to have to put it back out for consultation again because we didn't put there that we're going to have lighting there. Like, come on guys, let's do this once and let's do this right. We keep wasting time putting things out for master plans and consultation. We have a master plan for Fairbairn Park to have 2 soccer pitches there. There's discussions for lighting. Let's put our money where our mouth is on these master plans, and let's actually start to deliver. Because if we keep discussing and we keep waiting and then we keep putting things out for more master plans and more consultations, things don't actually happen. So I'm I'm going to support my amendment, and I hope my fellow councillors do support. And if there's any discussions that need to be had up until budget time, we can have those discussions. But for now, we need to pull the money out of JH, and we need to put the money into something that we can actually deliver. And I want us to be able to deliver it in our council term for our soccer clubs.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. I will put that amendment to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Bedio, Councillor Sypek, Councillor Nation, Councillor Tyson. All those against? Councillors Adams, Isa, Sharp and Byrne. I declare that carried on the casting vote of the Mayor to form part of the substantive motion. We now return to the substantive motion where Councillor Bedio, you had the call. Would you like to speak to the substantive?
No, thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. So returning to the substantive, just to remind councillors, Councillors Sharp, Sypek, Nation, Isa and Bedio have spoken. Would any other councillors like to speak?
May I ask a point of clarification, Mayor?
Yes, what is your point of clarification?
So, thanks, Mayor. As I can't see the screen, can through you, is the substantive motion that we are now voting on, does that have the $300,000 for lights removed from JH Allen?
Councillor Nation, without an exact dollar figure, but point B of the motion is to reallocate funding in the 2023/24 draft budget from JH Allen lighting project.
Perfect, thank you. I've got the screen share, so thank you. That clears that the money is on for this motion being pulled from JH Allen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors Byrne and Adams, I believe, would you like to speak to the substantive? No? As there has been... Councillor Byrne?
Sorry, Mayor. I think if the screen share can just come off the screen, if that's okay.
Yep.
Thank you. And just confirming we're speaking on the substantive?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Look, I did sort of touch on it a little bit in the amendment, but I just want to thank the officers for what was a really detailed consultation process and what was a really interesting report to read. There were really mixed views in regards to this, and I spoke to lots and lots of people with very varying views, basically starting at the no lights, no synthetic, no activation at all to the space, all the way to it needs to be a soccer hub. There wasn't really any movement of where it could meet in the middle. I think there's probably thought probably from more of the soccer community that it isn't necessarily the right space for a soccer hub, but there's obviously still a really strong advocacy around having lights somewhere and having a second pitch from the residents. There's definitely been some really passionate residents in regards to the safety concerns, the traffic concerns, the parking concerns, light spillage and noise, and that's all reflected in the report. It's really difficult to have such a beautiful soccer ground that isn't being utilised Monday to Friday at night during winter when we do have a soccer shortage. Personally, I thought that having an extra soccer ground down there would have been the preferred option, but happily, stand corrected that the preferred option by the community based on all of the feedback was actually the lights, not the extra ground, noting that there was obviously still some concern with the lights. Now, if we're able to move those lights to be able to get the same activation for our kids in our municipality to another ground that doesn't have that angst with residents, then I think that will probably be a better outcome for all involved. Because what we don't want to do is to put in lights somewhere and then just to create a really, I suppose, not helpful relationship between the surrounding residents and particular people who just want to go about playing their sport. We are we need to move faster in this space. We need to get lights up. We need to get our kids playing sport. We are 2.5 years into this, and soccer has been a big issue our whole time. And I don't actually know if we've actually increased the capacity of our kids playing the sport. We're about to enter into the stage of a Women's World Cup where there's more kids who are going to want to join. Having spoken to a few people from the who want to get their kids in and who look after wait lists, I don't think it's fair that kids that between the ages of 7 and 11 are already on wait lists, and that's not including kids that aren't even on the wait list because they've got no chances to even get onto the wait list. So we need to do something. I'm looking forward to further budget discussions and seeing where money lands or what we can do to improve the space.
Councillor Byrne, your time has expired, but I'll add an extra 20 seconds just acknowledging that you can't see the clock.
Sorry, and I just want to thank obviously the residents for all their time, really sharing their detailed concerns. As I touched on earlier, I would have elaborated on that, and sorry, I don't have a clock on me here, Mayor, so, but yes, just noting the various views coming from everybody, and thank you for the report.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. And I'd like to just also acknowledge all the residents that have reached out. It's very clear that you've been heard loud and clear. I do support the motion in terms of noting the feedback that was received, and also looking forward to talking about the budget, the lighting money during the budgeting process. But yeah, we've got a serious issue in terms of a lack of facilities for our soccer clubs. And I know all of us want to just solve this issue, and it's a really complex issue at many of our soccer grounds around the municipality. So it's a really, really tough balancing act for all of us. So I hope that you can all appreciate that, but know that your concerns have been heard and received, and definitely will be taken into consideration during the budgeting process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. As there has been some dissent through the process, I will ask Councillor Sharp whether she would like a right of reply.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't be supporting the motion before us. I don't think that we are progressing this in the way forward that would enable us to make a proper, informed decision. I think it's great that councillors want to get going on things, but at the moment, this potential option was to increase capacity, and the way to potentially do that would be, like, as it says in the report, potentially we could switch lights off early, 7:30. I think this petition has been based on potentially having soccer until 10 o'clock at night at JH Allen, and I don't think any of us around the table would support that. There was ways forward in order to enable a greater capacity potentially at this field with limited impact on the residents. There's also great lighting technology has come in leaps and bounds, and there's lots of ways that you can actually shield lights from going onto residents. Notwithstanding that, I'm not negating any of the residents' concerns, but I feel that this is an extremely missed opportunity when there are potentially ways we could have worked around this. And like I said, it's, why even put this option in a soccer strategy if it was never going to happen? I think that is an embarrassment and a blight on us all, and really disheartening, like it really is. Councillors are mentioning, we've got to get things done. Well, we're not, and we won't, because we're too scared around this council to actually do anything, basically, especially when it comes to soccer. So, yeah, I don't know where this is going to go. There's a hell of a lot more consultation to be done. There's a lot more budget consultation to be done.
So Sharp, your time has expired. Would you like an additional 15 seconds to finish your thought?
Yes,
Yep.
please. Fairbairn Park was put in the budget by Council Nation. I wholeheartedly support that, don't have a problem. But I don't know how we can suddenly say we're doing lights down there without even having a conversation around the table. So, no, I won't be supporting it, and crazy.
Sharp. Thank you. I will now put the substantive...
So, Mayor, can I just foreshadow a motion in case it gets lost?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Byrne. I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Bedio, Councillor Sypek, Councillor Byrne, Councillor Nation, Councillor Tyson. All those against? Councillors Adams, Isa and Sharp. I declare that motion carried. And thank you to the members of the gallery who have joined us tonight and taken interest in this item. We now move on to item 9.4, response to notice of motion number 2023/02, support for an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island.
That's 9.3. We're up to 9.3.
Apologies. Thank you, Councillor Isa. Item 9.3, endorsement of terms of reference for the Community Use Advisory Group Jering Flemington Hub. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Move the officer's recommendation. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Sypek. Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll be brief because this is an excellent report on an initiative to really bring in the users, the stakeholders of the new Jering Flemington Hub into conversations about how it's going. And people may remember that we've set the first 6 months of the use of the hub as a bit of a trial to see who wants to use the hub, what purposes, what community groups, how we balance everyone's different needs. And as part of that, we inserted an initiative to have a community use advisory group to really help inform that 6-month process. So this report just puts forward the terms of reference for that advisory group. At the end of the 6 months, we'll receive a report giving us some recommendations on how to then proceed with the management of the Jering Hub, and also recommendations on the potential continuation of the advisory group. So it may be that it's a successful point of reference for us, and that it's something that might continue into the future, perhaps in a less intense form. The terms of reference of this group are that it will meet monthly with a variety of different stakeholders, and councillors can attend as observers if we wish, and that officers will use the opportunity to bring together the feedback on how the new hub is progressing. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Councillor Sypek, would you like to speak?
Nothing further to add, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? If not, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we're on to item 9.4, councillors. Response to notice of motion number 2023/02, support for an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice to Parliament. Do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move a slight alternative to the officer's recommendation, which I'll read now.
Yes.
That Council resolves to A, note and endorse the report's engagement activities, in parentheses, undertaken and proposed, close brackets, to support Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Elders, Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation and the community in their Voice to Parliament aspirations for well-informed community engagement. B, note and endorse the report's planned communications approach that provides reputable information supporting efforts for constitutional change on the upcoming referendum so the community can make an informed decision. C, refer $8,000 to the 2023-24 financial year budget to be utilised to implement the planned communications and engagement activities contained within this report. And D, request the CEO to update Council on any further correspondence with Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation pertaining to the Voice to Parliament.
Thank you, Councillor Isaac. Can I clarify, in point A, you read out note and endorse the report's engagement activities?
I did too. I didn't remember saying
that. Was that
action.
intentional?
No, I meant actions. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
So you wanted correct actions?
Sorry, yes. Note and endorse the report's engagement actions.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Also, I might just ask governance, there's a spelling mistake in
Yes,
D.
point D. Yep.
And also, yep, right there. Thank you. And also in point B, can you just clarify the capitalisation of that word, governance? Thank you, Councillor Isa. Is there a seconder? Councillor Adams. Councillor Isa.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm really conscious of the fact that Councillor Hodgson is not here this evening, and that Councillor Hodgson's work on this particular topic is always so thorough and well informed, and I can't possibly match the degree of knowledge that she brings to this discussion. So I'll do my best, but I am missing her at this particular point, although note that she's home with her new baby. Look, in this very complex discussion, we really respect the various perspectives that First Nations people's communities bring to the issue, and the perspectives that have been debated respectfully and sometimes otherwise within the wider public realm at the moment. I guess what we're trying to do in this particular report is understand from our local elders how they would like us to proceed at this point. And it's really the voice of our elders at this particular moment and the conversations with us that is the most important. And it's those voices that I think we really need to listen to at this moment. Because these are really complex discussions, and we really want to respect the processes of our Wurundjeri Woiwurrung community, the truth-telling, the hurt, and ultimately the aspirations for reconciliation and treaty. And what I want to do, and I hope is a position that we all share, is that we are all responding to the advice and counsel of our elders and doing our best as a Moonee Valley Council to enact those wishes. And the report sets out for us very helpfully what some of those wishes are, which is to provide our community with trusted and reliable information about the referendum on the Voice. And so this motion is enacting that and implementing that. We really thank our local elders for engaging with us on this issue and on all issues of reconciliation. And we know that the way in which they engage with us is so valuable, and we want to be able to also take that engagement to a wider community. So we also note that one of the actions that our elders have also told us they'd like to participate in is discussions with community leaders across Moonee Valley. And we know that there's great value in those community leaders' engagement activities because that will really reach groups from all backgrounds and from all cultural perspectives. The Voice to Parliament really has a great potential to be a unifying discussion and to include the whole community in a shared vision of an amendment to our Constitution that can bring us all together. And I'm really proud of the work that our council does in bringing our Wurundjeri Woiwurrung community and council to shared understandings. And if we can further this with conversations to our wider community, then I think we're doing making a really valuable contribution to this referendum process, which is a really significant part of our future as a nation. So I hope that colleagues will support this motion in that spirit of reconciliation. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. Nothing much further to add. Thank you, Councillor Isa, for summarising the report. I'm happy to support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Councillor Nation.
Thanks, Mayor, and thank you to officers and all those that have been involved in the compilation of this report. Obviously, Council unanimously passed a notice of motion raised by Councillor Hodgson to support the Yes campaign for the Voice in the upcoming referendum, whenever that may be. I guess for me, one of the key parts of the report that I'm just trying to process how it works or where we are at in terms of our advocacy for the Yes campaign is on page 29. It's the part that's 2.5, where it does say elders informed council officers that the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation have not announced a position regarding the Voice. That probably, in terms of a process, concerns me slightly in the sense that we obviously have a commitment to advocate for the Yes campaign. Now, we haven't yet got a definitive answer from the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation and the elders just in regards to their position. And I guess for me, really as a courtesy, I would have thought that's sort of the next step to then kickstart the advocacy and tailor it to, I guess, exactly the message that they want and to support their objectives. And I know that they're obviously noted in the report, but I guess it's just that alignment in that point raised in 2.5 that I just wonder if we don't get that clarification, how our advocacy for the Yes vote proceeds. I guess I would have thought that those discussions would be the starting point to then really prepare an advocacy campaign. We unanimously passed our support for the Voice. We unanimously passed our support for the Reconciliation Action Plan, which we have done as a council for the entirety of my 10, 11 years as a councillor. I just don't want to get this wrong and I don't want...
Councillor Nation, your time has expired. I'll add an additional 15 seconds as you can't see the clock.
I don't want to get this wrong because I think we all have a shared passion and responsibility to get this right. So I'm not sure if other councillors see that as an issue that I have in reading the report, but I'm keen to hear discussions around the room. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Would any other councillors like to speak? Councillor Bedio.
Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, Councillor Isa, for the amendment. I think the amendment reads better. But I too have the concerns held by Councillor Nation in that I'm a robust advocate for the Bagaroo Reconciliation Plan. And the Reconciliation Plan does say as its key message is that for us reconciliation is about Aboriginal self-determination and giving Aboriginal people a say over the things that matter to them. Now, as part of that, the voice is a means by which we are seeking to develop that concept of self-determination and giving Indigenous peoples and Aboriginal people the chance to have that voice. That's why I think it's really important that we get the feedback from our elders and the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people to see how they want that voice to be, how they want that to be structured and how they want that to look. And I too have the concerns with Councillor Nation that until we get that firm commitment from them, that it is really hard for us to make a decision on this one. But I'm happy to support Councillor Isa's amendment in any case.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? And that is Councillor Adams, Councillor Bedio, Councillor Nation, Councillor Byrne, Councillor Tyson. All those... Councillor Isa, thank you. All those against? Councillor Sypek. Sorry, Councillor Sharp.
Abstaining.
Abstain, thank you. I declare that motion carried. We now move on to item 9.5, response to notice of motion number 2023/05, soft plastics recycling. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Nation.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm happy to support a motion in the form of the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Bedio. Councillor Nation, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thanks, Mayor. And look, I'm really happy to support this motion and would like to give credit to officers for the extensive work that they were already doing when I raised this motion, the initial notice of motion, and how they've carried on and continued to adapt and build off the motion that I brought to council. I think it was back when in the report somewhere, I think it was 14th of February actually, in regards to looking at what council is doing, look at how we can step up to the fold, and look at the advocacy we can do in terms of trying to put the onus back on the state government to help find a solution to the soft plastic recycling crisis. We obviously had all read the ongoing series of news stories when it comes to the Red Cycle scheme, and particularly in the western suburbs and the inner north, there were hordes and hordes of soft plastics that people in good faith had gone down to their local Woolies or Coles or placed in the red recycle bins, red cycle bins, sorry, and with the intent that they were not going to have plastics that were either going to end up in landfill or create extreme fire hazards in industrial suburbs. The council, our council, to the officers' credit, we're already adapting to see if there were options to take soft plastics from residents. There were some limitations in terms of coloured plastics, and I know that I raised that point at the meeting when I watched it back last week just to remember what had been covered. And at the time, clear plastics were being accepted, coloured plastics weren't. I think one of the really important parts of this report is 1831, and it's that reference to the expected financial burden upon councils to recycle soft plastics on their own accord is between 33 to 50% of recycling scheme costs. It's something that we're finding ourselves in this continual position due to inaction from our higher levels of government, that whether it's glass recycling or FOGO or soft plastics, there is a significant community goodwill to do the right thing to try to reduce their waste footprint. And there tends to be this continual barrier of high levels of government not coming to the table and helping council facilitate schemes that really should be the responsibility of state government. This is one of those schemes that council can do as much as it possibly can, but the fact that we, as a local government organisation, had to, in February, look to try to enact something because in the past 4 months from November 2022 to when this was raised in February 2023, the state government hadn't acted at all. I think there is another piece here that is covered in the officer's rec about the ongoing advocacy efforts to influence state and federal government to develop and implement a soft plastics scheme. We should not have to say that. I think that it's ridiculous that we have to bang the doors at Spring Street just to say, hey, this is an issue and we need your help to help fund something you should be doing. But that's that awkward position we're in due to the inaction. So thank you to officers for what they were doing. Thank you for adapting to also take the coloured soft plastics. And one of the key parts, and sorry, Mayor, I don't know how long I've got left, if you give me an indication.
45 seconds, Councillor Nation.
Lovely, thank you. One of the big things that I really pushed on when I watched back the meeting last week was that idea that, yes, we were recycling soft plastics, clear soft plastics at the transfer station, but not everyone can get to the transfer station, particularly between 8 and 4 and limited hours on weekends. So that idea of that waste journey and recycling journey we're on to branch out to other areas within our municipality to enable recycling to be done in place or close to in place. So thank you, officers. It's a shame that it even got to the point that a notice of motion had to be raised. Let's keep banging on the doors at Spring Street and hopefully someone sees the light and will step up and help implement a scheme statewide. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Councillor Bedio, would you like to speak to the motion? No. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Isa.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Nation, for bringing this to the chamber when you did, and for acknowledging the fine work of the officers too, which was something I wanted to emphasise as well, that they were almost working ahead of us a little bit on this, and it's really terrific that you've been able to bring that to the chamber and allow us some real visibility, and to allow the work that they're doing some real visibility. I just wanted to emphasise, I guess, that point in A2 of the motion, which is something that's sometimes overlooked in this debate and just, I think, deserves a little bit of a shout out, which is, well, it's in A1 and 2 really, which is that it's the elimination of plastic at the point of manufacture and production and purchase, and that point of consumption that will really help us drive down the plastic pollution globally. And Australia is doing a lot of work on that. We're part of just had to look it up, we're part of the High Ambition Coalition to End Plastic Pollution through the United Nations. And so there is a whole lot of work that is being done, and the recycling is the kind of the end of the chain work that's really important. But the more that we can do in that that point A as well, the more we're doing to ultimately reduce plastic. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. We now move on to item 9.6, pipeline licence application, Melbourne Jet Pipeline. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Byrne. You're on mute.
Yep, sorry. Sorry, Mayor. I would like to move the officer's recommendation with just a slight addition to it. So that council resolves to A, endorse the proposed submission, bracket attachment 1, and B, request the CEO to provide the submission attachment 1 to the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate to the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action and the local member for Niddrie, Ben Carroll, on the 7th of June 2023.
Governance 2 Ls. Yep. Can you see the motion there, Councillor Byrne? Is that correct?
Local member for Niddrie. Yeah. Yes, that's fine. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Nation. Councillor Byrne, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks. Just checking I was off mute. Thank you. I would. So I think this is a really good move by MVCC, and it's in regards to the proposal from Viva Energy, which is a provider of aviation fuel, regarding the construction of an additional jet fuel pipeline from Melbourne Airport. The proposed pipeline would connect to an existing pipeline running parallel to the railway line between Jacana and Albion stations. However, there are concerns regarding the pipeline's alignment and its impact on the surrounding areas. The proposed route passes through the city of Brimbank and encroaches 150 metres on the city of Moonee Valley, affecting approximately 30 dwellings. So our submission raises several key issues, which I've just briefly summarised. The first one being the notification to residents. It's unclear whether the properties within the 150 metre impact area have been directly notified about this proposal, and Council wants to emphasise the importance of notifying residents and addressing any of the potential impacts on their dwellings. The second point is a limitation on future development. The proposed route intersects with land designated as GRZ in Moonee Valley, and this raises concerns about future development potential of affected residential areas, and Council wants to ensure that the presence of the pipeline does not hinder ongoing strategic planning work and housing initiatives. The third point is the lack of planning scheme controls. Council wants to highlight the lack of appropriate tools and planning provisions to identify and manage licensed pipelines in the area, and we're suggesting the introduction of a risk-based spatial overlay and clearer guidelines for protecting pipelines from the encroachment and managing residential development in the vicinity. And the fourth point that comes up in our submission is the pipeline route options. The submission notes that 5 potential pipeline routes were considered and option 1 was chosen as the preferred route. However, there is a suggestion to redirect the pipeline to the northeast away from the existing residential dwellings. This adjustment would provide a larger buffer zone and reduce the impacts on residents. I don't want this to be another one of those ones that just sort of the cheaper option gets chosen without really looking through all of the alternatives. Hopefully by doing this submission, it'll be taken note, and I think just by adding in our local member, hopefully he can help with some of our advocacy and around this and the future questions we're asking. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Councillor Nation, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor. And look, I'm happy to support this motion. I think it's really important that we lodge a submission and raise these points, because the actual documentation that is available on the Viva Energy website in regards to this proposal, it is considerable. I think the attachments go down to maybe letter H or even greater, and there's a whole range of assessments that are done, which are important, obviously, but It is just so much data and documentation for a resident that may be impacted to process and understand and then formulate a submission. So us as their representatives, I think it's really important that we are in this conversation. It's somewhat depressing that instead of an Airport West train station, we're just getting a pipeline full of jet fuel. It probably is not what residents out there want or need because it serves no purpose to them. They really seem to have copped the raw deal twice over now in the space of a few months. One of the things that I guess for any residents who may be watching or may be interested is that under the Pipelines Act 2005, the sole responsibility falls with the Minister. The Minister either grants or doesn't grant this proposal. There is no other body or appeals body that makes any decision here. The ability to grant under the Pipelines Act lies solely with the Minister. Funnily enough, it does say that once in the Act that the Minister must hear all submissions before making a decision. So I don't think there's a chance to filibuster or keep tripping in submissions to forever put it off. Obviously, the submission period is what it is. But it is something that if those residents living around probably need to have a look at, need to get in contact with ward councillors to do some advocacy on their behalf, because it may have a greater impact either during the construction or down the track than residents believe. So thank you for moving this, Councillor Byrne, and I think we've got one day to put that submission in, so hopefully it's lodged early tomorrow morning. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Nation. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Sypek.
Mr Mayor, I was just wondering if the mover and the seconder would indulge a slight wording adjustment there to include our federal representative, Bill Shorten, because this does actually feed a federal piece of land, and I think that would probably be quite a good addition to add the federal member as well.
So are you moving an amendment, Councillor Sypek?
I was just asking maybe the mover and
seconder... A point of clarification?
Point of clarification that the mover and seconder might consider that.
Point of clarification to Councillor Byrne?
I don't think we can.
I don't think that's... look, I would be supportive if Councillor Sypek was to move to add member for Maribyrnong, Bill Shorten, in. I think that would be the correct process.
Okay,
does that answer your point of clarification?
I'll move an amendment.
Yep. What is your amendment, Councillor Sypek?
Add to write to our federal member, Minister Bill Shorten.
So with point B there, Councillor Sypek,
correct.
Just to add after Ben Carroll, what words?
To write to our federal minister, Bill Shorten. Right to the federal minister, Bill Shorten.
And the federal, yeah.
Councillor Sypek, can you check that that's the correct wording?
You read it because I'm at a very bad.
I'll read the full point B for you. Request the CEO to provide the submission to the Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action, the local member for Niddrie Ben Carroll and the Federal Minister Bill Shorten MP on 7 June 2023.
Happy with that.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
Sorry, Mayor, I can't see the screen. Does it say Federal Minister or Federal Member?
Federal Minister.
Federal Minister, Councillor Byrne. Governance if the screen shared. Yep. Is there a seconder for the amendment? Councillor Bedio. Councillor Sypek, would you like to speak to your amendment?
Look, I think it's very clear and simple what I've just added to... It's on?
It's on? Great.
I think it's very simple, just adding the federal minister to the information.
Thank you. Councillor Bedio, would you like to speak?
Anything further to add, Mayor?
Would any other councillor like to speak on the amendment? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour of the amendment? That's carried unanimously. We now return to the substantive. Councillor Sypek, you had the call. Would you like to speak any further?
Look, I think we've pretty much said exactly what all this means, and just with my slight amendment, just adding the Federal Minister to be informed as well, as he is our local representative federally.
Thank you, Councillor Sypek. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Bedio.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll just add, while I understand the concerns in relation to the pipeline, obviously it's a piece of infrastructure that potentially is needed to deliver for the increased usage at Melbourne Airport, and while obviously there has to be risks and the need to mitigate potential issues that, you know, at times we can't stand in the way of progress, and sometimes we need to understand that these projects need to occur in order to support our economic prosperity. So in the same token, I'm happy to support the motion, but I also acknowledge that potentially the pipeline is a much needed piece of infrastructure so that Melbourne Airport can function at a higher capacity.
Thank you, Councillor Bedio. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Before we move on to item 9.7, as we are halfway through the agenda and we've been going for 2 hours, I will call a adjournment for a quick break. So it's 8:23 at the moment. We'll return at 8:30. Thank you. from our brief adjournment, we now move on to item 9.7, Priority Projects Council Plan and Health Plan 2021 to 25, Implementation Update for Quarter 3, 2022-23, January to March. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Happy to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. And a seconder. Is there a seconder? Councillor Sharp. Councillor Isa.
Thanks to officers for putting together this update on the progress of our council plan. We're still experiencing some of those same difficulties with respect to excuse me, some of our infrastructure construction, some of the same supply and labour pressures, but we are making good progress, and there's some good detail on all of the projects that we need to keep a watch on going forward. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Councillor Sharp, anything to add? Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.8 is Capital Works Performance Report, quarter ended 31 March 2023. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Adams.
I'll move the officer's recommendation, please, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Is there a seconder?
Are we doing the capital work?
Councillor Isa. Councillor Adams.
Thanks, Mayor. This report has been prepared by officers to inform Council and the community on the progress of delivery of our Capital Works program. As an organisation, we're not alone in industry in experiencing delays on the delivery of capital works. The main reasons for industry impacts post-COVID include slow or poor market interest and responses in council tenders, rising inflation and impacts on construction material costs, and competitive labour market conditions and recruitment challenges. The organisation is focused on the review of procurement efficiencies in an effort to mitigate delivery rates of the Capital Works program, including utilisation of the newly formed Civil Works Construction Panel to undertake designed works for financial year 2023, undertaking a review for the financial year 23 and financial year 24 roads and drainage programs to expedite designs for construction, and redesign of drainage projects to enable the use of alternate drain pipe materials to counter the current 40-week waiting period for concrete drains, bundling of similar works at a location basis to complete related works in the nearby vicinity and reduce community disruption, bringing forward planned works for the financial year 24 renewal program to capitalise on contractor availability and improve planning for high risk and low delivery confidence projects, utilising savings in renewal programs towards the escalating construction costs of approved projects in delivery. I encourage those watching to download this report to check the status of projects that you are curious about to know where they're at. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Isa, would you like to speak? No? Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Adams, Councillor Bedio, Councillor Isa, Councillor Nation, and seeing Councillor Byrne put her hand up, that is carried unanimously. We now move on to item 9.9, Financial Performance Report, quarter ended 31 March 2023. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Adams.
I'll move the officer's recommendation, please, Mayor.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Sypek. Councillor Adams, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor. Council is required to receive quarterly financial performance reports in accordance with Section 97(1) of the Local Government Act 2020. This report is for the period the 1st of July 2022 to the 31st of March 2023. In line with good governance, it forms part of the public accountability process and reporting and includes the operating statement, the balance sheet, cash flow statement and capital expenditure. In the report, there is a table that summarises the financial performance for the period the 1st of July 2022 to the 31st of March 2023. With regard to the operating surplus, the year-to-date favourable surplus is predominantly due to higher income received from statutory fees and fines and underspend in employee costs, offset by an increase in depreciation, materials and services and a decrease in capital grants received. The annual forecast variance includes increased revenue in operating grants of $2.3 million, capital grants of $2.4 million, offset by lower user fees of $1.2 million. There are forecast decreases in employee costs of $3.2 million, offset by an increase in materials and services of $2.9 million, and depreciation and amortisation of $4.1 million. With regards to capital works, the year-to-date underspend is due to a range of factors, including limited market availability of fleet, lack of market interest in tenders and contractor availability. The annual forecasting includes $5.1 million for 2 property acquisitions that were not budgeted. The forecast also reflects projects that will not be completed this year and proposed to be carried over into the 23-24 financial year. In conclusion, the finance report for the 9 months ending the 31st of March 2023 indicates that Council's overall financial position for the year ending 30 June 2023 is sound. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Councillor Sypek. Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. We now move on to item 9.10, 2022/23 Q3 Council Expenses Report. Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillors, do I have a motion? Councillor Isa.
Move the officer's recommendation, Mayor.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Nation. Councillor Isa.
I don't need to speak.
Thank you. Councillor Nation, would you like to speak? No? Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak? If not, I will put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. We now move on to 10, which is notices of motion, and we have one listed on tonight's agenda. 10.1, I call on Councillor Isa to present her notice of motion titled Notice of Motion number 2023/22, Neighbourhood Plans.
Thanks, Mayor. I move that Council resolves to request the CEO to bring a report to Council as soon as practicable for the purpose of confirming the order and estimated timelines for the remaining 11 neighbourhood plans following the completion of the Airport West and Keilor East neighbourhood plans to be developed in accordance with MV 2040 and the Moonee Valley Planning Scheme. This could be combined with the related report to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Is there a seconder? Councillor Sypek. Councillor Isa, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thanks, Mayor. It's pretty straightforward. It's really just asking for officers to bring to the chamber an opportunity for us to really clarify as a group the order of the neighbourhood plans. The neighbourhood plans are a new mechanism for strategic planning, replacing the previous structure plans. And a neighbourhood plan needs to be completed for all of our 13 neighbourhoods that were devised as part of MV 2040. We started with Keilor East and Airport West neighbourhood plans, but we need to provide, I think, some clarity for officers on the next tranche of plans so that the officers can work out how to then progress all 13 plans. The first 2 plans have probably taken quite some time, but that's been necessary to really get all of the strategic work in place. We're expecting a housing policy to come to us soon that's been part of that strategic planning. It's anticipated that the next 11 plans will be much quicker. Some of them, in fact, will be quite fast because they don't involve commercial precincts. But we do need to get through all 13 of them, and I think it will help us going forward to just have a consensus around the table on the order in which they can be done. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. Councillor Sypek, would you like to speak to the motion? Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to the motion? Councillor Sharp.
I will quickly. I understand Councillor Isa's desire to have it sort of set in concrete to a degree, and I think that's a good way forward. But I will always, these neighbourhood plans are replacing the structure plans, and Buckley Ward has been subject of a number of structure plans over the last 6 or so years, and yes, 6 years may seem like a while ago, probably even longer actually, maybe 8, but I am very cautious about neighbourhood plans in Buckley Ward. And I know we're going to have to develop a way forward, and I get that, but I'm very nervous about pushing this. And I'm not saying this is pushing it through. I suppose I'm just cautious about where Buckley Ward might sit in this, and I seriously still have PTSD from the last processes that took place a number of years ago, and I would prefer to err on the side of caution and just let the officers bring it to us when they feel like it, potentially. So I won't support this, but only because I'm very fearful about what might happen. But I understand the intent, and obviously we had the motion the other week that was deferred that I would have much preferred it to have just started, I guess, as a process, but that got a bit waylaid in the council meeting, so it didn't occur. I think that was deferred, but I hope you can understand my position on that. It's I need to be cautious with that.
Thank you, Councillor Sharp. Would any other councillor like to speak? Councillor Byrne.
Thanks, Mayor. I will be supporting this motion, and I'm excited about these neighbourhood plans. I like the idea that we can be in control of when they occur and which ones occur. There was a lot of kerfuffle over which neighbourhoods went first off the rank last time, and as councillors we haven't actually really seen that much, even though it was probably 3.5 years ago, but it is very close, which is very exciting. I am mindful of putting the next group of councillors in 18 months into a position, but locking them necessarily into a position, considering there's going to be a lot of changes with single member wards and how much involvement a councillor might need to have with their wards. I think that being in control of what we do in this council term is one thing, and obviously noting that it might be subject to change. It might be that the neighbourhoods that go in next council term might be, if there's any incumbents re-elected as opposed to a brand new councillor. Hard to say how it'll all work through. We'll obviously save debate for which neighbourhoods should be in the next tranche, but I think that spreading it out across the municipality, whilst there's advantages of having things in clusters, I find it something really exciting that I want to work on and not avoid. So I'm hoping to see another Rosehill Ward neighbourhood in the next tranche. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Byrne. Would any other councillor like to speak? As there has been some dissent, I'll ask whether a right of reply is required.
Thanks, Mayor. And look, I do understand the trepidation that has been expressed. It's not easy, and it's one of the reasons that the structure plans in the Flemington area were aborted some years ago, so it can get very difficult, and completely appreciate that. I guess the intention here is for us to really thrash out a discussion about that, to see which areas might be more willing to proceed sooner and which ones perhaps want to hold back a bit. So I see that this process is perhaps giving an opportunity for councillors who'd prefer to go more cautiously to order, to I guess put in place an order that allows them to do that. But yeah, look, I'd appreciate that there are different views about this, so I just hope that we can work through the neighbourhood plans as quickly as possible to give some certainty to us all. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Isa. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? That is Councillor Adams, Bedio, Isa, Nation, Byrne, Sypek, Tyson. All those against? Councillor Sharp. That motion is carried. We now move on to item 11, urgent business. Councillors, do we have any urgent business this evening? If not, we move on to item 12, confidential reports, and we have one listed on the agenda this evening, so I'm going to need councillors, a mover and seconder, that council resolves to close the meeting to the public pursuant to section 66(2) of the Local Government Act 2020 to discuss the following matters as they are considered confidential under the terms of section 3(1). 12.1, project update on Eston Rowing Club Pavilion upgrade, contains confidential information relating to A, council business information, being information that would prejudice council's position in commercial negotiations if prematurely released, as it contains confidential commercial information. As the report is based on current and next year's budget, and as such could prejudice commercial negotiations. Councillors, moved Councillor Sypek, seconded Councillor Sharp. I'll put that to the vote. That is Councillor Adams, Councillor Bedio, Councillor Isa, Councillor Sharp, Sypek, Nation and Tyson. All those against? Councillor Byrne. That is carried. And with that is where we say goodnight to members of the public in the gallery and online for watching tonight. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time, closing the meeting to the public at 8:50. Thank you.